Partners, I wanted to show you an activity we can do to help us in retelling stories, okay? And this is something you can do with any story you read, okay? Something you can do with your moms and dads practice at home to retell any story you read, because when we retell a story, it helps us remember the story. So last week I read you this book called The Napping House by Audrey Wood, illustrated by Don Wood, okay? And I'm going to reread it, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to help myself remember the story. It's called The Napping House. There is a house, a napping house, where everyone is sleeping. And in that house, there is a bed, a cozy bed, in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. Who's in that bed? It's Grandma. Grandma's in that bed. And look, I see the little boy, and I see a kitty cat, and I see the dog. Oh, and do you remember what was up here? A mouse. And where's that flea? There was a flea. The flea is all the way over there. Oh.
Yeah.
And on that bed, there is a granny, a snoring granny, on a cozy bed in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. Who got up? That's right, the little boy got up. And on that granny, there is a child, a dreaming child, on a snoring granny, on a cozy bed in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that child, there is a dog, a dozing dog, on a dreaming child, on a snoring granny, in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. Oh, who's getting up next? The kitty cat's getting up. And on that dog, there is a cat, a snoozing cat, on a dozing dog, on a dreaming child, on a snoring granny, on a cozy bed, in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. And on that cat, there's a mouse, a slumbering mouse, on a snoozing cat, on a dozing dog, on a dreaming child, on a snoring granny, on a cozy bed, in a napping house where everyone is sleeping. Look, we have granny, child, dog, cat, and mouse. Who's next? Who comes next? And on that mouse, there is a flea. Can it be a wakeful flea, on a slumbering mouse, on a snoozing cat, on a dozing dog, on a dreaming child, on a snoring granny, on a cozy bed, in a napping house where everyone is sleeping? A wakeful flea who bites the mouse. Who scares the cat? What's going to happen next? Oh, who's going to get scared next? Who claws the dog? There goes the mouse. The mouse is all the way over there. Who thumps the child? Who thumps the child? Who bumps the granny? Who bumps the granny? Look. Oh my gosh, they're like going in a circle. There's the flea all the way over here now. Did you see that? There's the mouse and the cat and the dog and the granny and the child. Who breaks the bed? In the napping house, where no one now is sleeping. So when I read a book like this and I want to remember how the order of how it went, I'm going to draw a picture to remind me. And then I can tell the story looking at the picture. So all you need to do is get a piece of paper and a pencil. If you have crayons or markers, you can use those to decorate it. But you want to draw a picture that's going to help you remember how to retell this story, The Napping House. So the first thing I'm going to draw is a bed, because this napping house had a bed, right? So go ahead. You can draw your bed.
I don't know how to make one.
Draw a bed right there. Okay?
I don't know how to make bed.
You can just draw a line. You can even just draw a line across, almost like an H. Okay? Draw my bed. And who was the first person on the bed? Who was the first person on the bed? Do you remember?
Granny.
The granny. So now I'm going to draw a picture of the granny. Okay? There's the granny. She had that cap on her head. And she was the snoring granny. Oh, they're big. Her eyes were closed. There was Granny sleeping on the bed. And she had her feet out. Okay. Granny. And then, Granny. Who came next into the napping house? Who came next? Do you remember who came next?
The child.
The child. So now I'm going to do the child. The child had a big smile on his face. Child. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be really detailed. Okay? You can just do it just so we know. Okay? And then what came after the child? What came after the child?
I'm not done.
Okay. What came after the child?
The dog.
The dog. Oh, so now we have to do the dog.
He had a lot of hair.
Yeah, he did. There's a big dog. Big dog. All right.
It's like a bed with full
There's
legs.
a big dog. And what came after the dog?
The cat.
The cat. So then we have the kitty cat. So go ahead and draw your kitty cat. Sleeping.
On top of the dog.
Cover the dog. Okay.
My animals are a little small.
And then, so we have the granny.
A mouse,
child.
a mouse.
The mouse comes next. The mouse comes next. Oh, I forgot how to draw a mouse, so I'm going to look up here.
It's a little one.
Oh, it's a little mouse. So it's got little ears.
Yeah.
Little ears. It looks kind of like the...
And it had a big tail.
and a
Okay,
big
now the
tail.
fly.
And
It's this
what
a
came
dot.
next? What came next?
The flea.
The
This
flea.
This was a dot, guys.
Draw a dot.
I just put my pencil.
So check this out. Can I retell my story looking at my picture?
I made the eye check.
Can we retell our story? I think we
Yes.
can. Let's practice it. There was a napping house, and in that napping house, there was a granny in the bed, and on the granny was the child, and on the child was the dog, and on the dog was the
Cat.
and on the cat was the
Mouse.
and on the mouse was the
Flea.
okay. And then what happened? The flea bit the mouse, and the mouse scratched the
Cat.
and the cat clawed at the and the dog clawed. The dog stomped on bumped the child, and the child bumped
The granny.
Granny. And then what happened to the bed?
It broke.
And the bed broke
Oh,
in the napping house. And then was anybody sleeping?
no. Look at.
So now that you have drawn your picture, put your picture down. Now that you've drawn your picture, I'm going to take some fancy dancy markers. You can take crayons or markers. You take whatever you want. And I am going to color in my picture.
I must have blood.
But I'm going to make sure after I color in my picture that I practice at least one more time. Practice at least one more time retelling my story. Okay? Before you put that picture up on your wall. Practice retelling your story. Tell it to somebody maybe who didn't read the book. What happened? What was the order of the napping house? We had Granny went in the bed, then the child, then the dog, then the cat, the mouse, and the flea. And then the flea, what did the flea do to the mouse?
It bumped.
It bit the mouse, and it woke up the mouse, and then the mouse scratched the cat, who clawed at the dog, who bumped the child, who bumped the granny. And what happened to the bed?
It broke.
It broke. In the napping house, was anybody sleeping at the end?
No.
So go ahead
This is the
and
house.
make sure you practice this. You don't have to just do it with the napping house, kindergartners. You can do it with anything that we read, any story you read. You can draw a picture to show the order, to help you retell it. All right?
How long was that?